What is PTSD? It's a psychiatric disorder that can occur when you experience life-threatening events. Military combat such as that I saw in the Falklands is only one form of this. PTSD can be triggered by going through natural disasters or getting caught up in terrorist incidents or serious accidents. A woman might suffer it following a violent assault, like a rape. A firefighter might suffer it after finding a small child dead in a house fire. In the military context, it has certainly been around as long as warfare, and there are discussions of similar conditions in ancient literature that the beginning of the modern understanding of PTSD dates from the time of the American Civil War. Men suffering emotional problems after that extremely vicious conflict were said to have soldier's heart or Da Costa syndrome. In the First World War, it was called shell shock. By the time the Second World War came around, it was more often called combat fatigue. The proper research and documentation of PTSD began in earnest after the Vietnam War. It has subsequently been observed in all veteran populations which have been studied, including those of World War II, the Korean conflict, the two Gulf Wars, the Falklands, Northern Ireland, and in United Nations peacekeeping forces deployed to war zones around the world. What are the symptoms? Well, lots of them were familiar to me. If you have PTSD, you will often relive the trigger experiences through nightmares and flashbacks. You can have difficulty sleeping, you might feel detached from everyday life, and you can also suffer physical symptoms, headaches, stomach complaints, problems with your immune system, dizziness, chest pain, and general pain are common. It is often accompanied by depression, memory loss, drink or drug abuse, an inability to hold down jobs, and the collapse of marriages, family life, and other relationships. How do you cure PTSD? The good news about the disorder is that it can be treated if you catch it early enough. It varies from case to case, but it has been known for a long time that a mixture of medication and therapy applied as soon as possible after the traumatic events has positive outcomes. Clearly, the army couldn't t-hole me off the battlefield for a nice psychiatric chat followed by a handful of antidepressants within an hour of the Sir Galahad tragedy. For starters, they had lads with arms and legs missing who needed to be dealt with first, but they could have had me seen too after the cessation of hostilities. After all, the mod had sent a team of Royal Navy psychiatrists down to the Falklands with a task force. It was years later before I got any help, and I never got any from the army. Does every combat veteran suffer from PTSD? Thankfully, no, though that creates difficulties for those who do. In 1988, a major US study revealed that 30% of veterans experienced the disorder at some point since returning from Vietnam. While that is a very large number, it still means 70% did not. This means the skeptics, and there are many, in and out of uniform, have the ammunition to help them to deny it's a real problem. The government, for instance, was fighting the court case, and it was apparent why if they admitted that PTSD existed, or more importantly, that they could and should have done something about it in my case. And in hundreds of others, this would throw the doors open to compensation claims from all suffering veterans. From that period and any conflict since the Falklands, the period during which it was reasonable to expect the government to act to help soldiers, potentially, the bill would run into hundreds of millions of pounds. It wasn't just those with a vested interest who had their doubts. Others could not understand how anyone could suffer from PTSD. After all, their granddad was in World War II. He fought the Germans for 5 years and he's all right, isn't he? If I had a pound for every time I have heard this argument, I'd be a rich man, and my response is always the same. Firstly, how do you know your granddad is all right? It's hardly news that the stiff upper lip mentality prevalent in those of earlier generations means many keep their emotions firmly in check. Secondly, maybe your granddad is one of the lucky majority. As I say, not every combat soldier will end up suffering from PTSD. In fact, most don't. Many of the lads who fought in the Falklands saw and did far worse things than me and came away mentally unscathed. Why is that? I wish I knew, but no one does, not even the experts. I can understand why it's a controversial area for so many people. After all, you can see the damage to a soldier who has stood on a landmine or been badly burned. You can see inside a man's head and see what has gone wrong in there. Naturally enough, some people think it's faked, or exaggerated, or imagined. Some people were particularly annoyed by the fact that PTSD-suffering veterans were trying to claim financial compensation. If I had another pound for every time I've heard, well, no one forced you to join the army. It goes with the territory. I wouldn't just be rich, I'd be writing this somewhere warm, sunny, and tropical, rather than rainy old Cumbria. The unfairness of this always struck me. You don't hear people complaining when the firefighter is compensated for the horror of finding the child's body, or the policeman for seeing someone commit suicide. Why is it different for soldiers? It's right to say that no one forced me to join the army. I joined because I'd always wanted to be a soldier, and I would join again if I had my time again. I accept also that all soldiers know that they may be going to war, more so now than in my day, and that goes with the territory. However, PTSD doesn't have to be a part of that. As I've said, it's not incurable as long as you take it seriously and treat it early. If you are enjoying this, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Read A. A. McNally's book, Still Watching Men Burn: Fighting the PTSD War.